Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Men of Ann Arbor podcast, brought to you by the good people at New Amendment. As always, I'm Stu Douglas. With me is Nik Stauskas. We're going to switch it up a little bit this episode. We usually end with Word on Campus, but let's get right into Word on Campus. And that's because Word on Campus is we were on campus. We got to experience campus and late night campus. Nik, Sunday, I about died. Luckily, I didn't have to drive home. Luckily, my dad drove home when my parents came up. But I was worthless on Sunday after our Saturday night excursion, if you want to call it that.
How far is that drive back to Indiana for you? From
3.5. I think we made it in record time, so it wasn't the worst thing ever.
Yeah. But there's nothing worse than being a little hungover in the car. You know,
it's absolutely the worst. And like sleeping like with my neck just crane to the side, and I woke up slobbering all over it wasn't fun.
You know what stood out to me about the having all of us back in Ann Arbor this weekend was, I mean, you and I obviously we're together every week, on this podcast talking Michigan hoops, but just the group in general, this speaks to how close we were. A lot of guys we haven't seen in years, and it felt like we all just picked up right where we left off. Oh yeah, from 2013, from 2014. So I had such a fun weekend. It's not often that we get all these guys back in town, and especially to see a good game against Michigan State. I had a blast, and I really do hope we could do it more often moving forward. That we can get that group back in town. It's hard. We're all old. We all have stuff going on between jobs, family. Some of these guys still playing professionally, which makes it difficult, but. I just think those weekends make it worth it. Just a quick 48-hour trip. That's about all we can really handle together at this point anyways.
It's like Vegas. You don't want to be there that long. Yeah.
So, no, I had a great time, man. I really did.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was so funny. It was Chelsea's first time on campus. I think your wife Alex's as well.
Yep.
Or at least like getting that whole experience. And it was Friday night and we were hanging out. We were at the study hall lounge. It was like a player's cocktail. And then we all decided, because Rick's is right there, all right, let's go to Rick's. Okay, fine. Like I looked at Chelsea. I'm like, we're doing one drink. Like that's it. One drink at Rick's. And I am going to sleep because I want like a full Saturday. I'm trying to get in all campus on Saturday and like feel good. So we get there. I go to the bathroom. We walk down. Spike and his boy gets us in. And I come back from the bathroom and I just see Chelsea with a big ass grin on her face and just has fireball shots being poured right in front of her. I'm like, are you joking right now? She's like, what? You said one drink, hand it to you, me, Spike, Blake, and her. And like, I was like, this is exactly what we came for, but it was not what I was expecting.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I didn't do that one because that I was just not, I was on the same page as you. I'm trying to function on Saturday and have a good day and enjoy the game and whatnot. But, yeah, even Saturday night after the game, we all went out to eat afterwards, and I told myself, I'm going to stay for one drink, have a bite to eat, and then head back to the hotel because we're flying home tomorrow. It's been a long weekend, just want to relax. And sure enough, we found ourselves in the streets of Ann Arbor until 3 a.m. So
shut down Heidelberg.
That's
basically
how it goes. That's how it goes.
Yeah, Chelsea's not going to be happy. I'm going to tell her that the next time she sees you, it's going to be 2 shots. like a kid, like a kid taking medicine. You're like, all right, show your tongue. That's gonna be her and you.
You know what? I'm gonna deflect some of it because the one guest we've had on this show this year, Spike, I saw him. With that shot, he took the shot, spit it back into the cup, and then threw it in the garbage. I'm calling him out. No one else saw it. Me and my wife Alex, we were watching him do it, and he made eye contact with us, and he saw that we saw him, and he just had no shame. He had no shame. He just threw it right out.
Oh my God, that's good. I had no idea. I'm gonna give him a lot of crap later. Yeah, Chelsea's gonna love that. Blake, of course, just took it down because he's a monster. And nothing stops him. But yeah, we got to do it more often. The summer, we're working on something in the summer, next fall for a football game. But we're at that point now where you got to schedule these things out months in advance. Like it's no more like boys' weekends off a random thought at 1 a.m. at a bar like for like the previous day. So but it's fun, man. It definitely reinforces the fact that we need to keep doing it. And just getting back to Ann Arbor and seeing the game. And I was in the nosebleeds. You guys got some good seats because you guys, the 13 team was honored. And even in the nosebleeds, I was like, yeah, this is cool. It was really cool. But it was It was interesting. It was a little emotional for me at the start of the game. I was like, "Oh man, I experienced a lot of ups and downs in this place." It was a little bizarre, to be honest with you, to be back there in a game and like the hype right before the tip, and I was like, "Oh, I remember this feeling very vividly."
Yeah, yeah. You have a little less butterflies and anxiety, being in the stands and not on the floor. But I gotta say, we've been watching the games on TV, so obviously we haven't been there in person this year. But from the sound of it, that was the loudest the crowd has been all year long. And granted, it's Michigan State, so it's a big game. The place was packed, but I just, I look back at our time at Michigan and even your teams, and I just feel like it was always louder in there, always more fans. And maybe that's just in the moment when you're the one playing, you always feel like that. But I was excited for the team to pull through on a win where the fans were really invested, and there was great energy in the crowd. But that energy hasn't necessarily been there all season, and some of that's a product of the team not having the best year. But again, I was happy for them. That was a huge win for them.
Yeah, I don't know who it was. Somebody on Twitter. It was 2 home games ago. Anyways, it was a game. It didn't sound very loud on TV, and the guy was like, "No, it was loud. I was there." So I'm wondering if it's like maybe a TV thing, but yeah, it was. You need that home court advantage. You need that hype, and the Michigan State definitely those games always deliver. So it was fun to see that, and then pull out a close game. I'm curious though, getting back to campus. I didn't get to go to Skeeps. I really wanted to go to Skeeps, and I missed it. Rex would have done. I got my Zingermans though. I was happy. Did you have any place that like you had to hit up?
Honestly,
and you didn't get to? No,
I didn't. So I wasn't even. I mean, I've had Zingermans before, but it's not a for sure thing for me when I go back.
Go to then?
I really don't. To be honest, it was kind of sad. It was kind of sad being back there and realizing that I was directionally challenged. Like I would look around sometimes. I'd be like, I know this street, but I don't know where I'm going. I've seen these places before, but I don't know where I'm going. If I have, if I don't have my phone to use my maps, I don't know the direction we're supposed to go in. So that was a little concerning for me. But all the food we had over the weekend was better than I remember it being when I was in Ann Arbor. But that's also maybe because the only place I'd really go to is Subway and Chipotle when I was. That's all I could really afford.
That's what I was telling Chelsea. So, yeah, it's like we didn't eat anywhere good because it was like, I get free Mr. Spots and like Potbelly's right next to my place. Yeah, so like, what does it matter? And literally, we passed by Potbelly, like right by where Zach and I used to live, and Josh. And I was like, that was my favorite restaurant. And like, that's a sad thing, but like, that's a 22-year-old. That's what they're saying. I went to Jolly Pumpkin, and it's pretty infamous in Ann Arbor. People go there a lot. And I was like, man, I've never been here. It's crazy I've never been here. I looked at the menu. It was a $19 burger. And I was like, oh, that's why.
That's why.
That's exactly why.
Yeah, that's why. Also, it is 2023. We have high inflation rate right now. We got to factor some of that in. It wasn't like that in 2010, I don't think.
No, not quite. No, but it was fun. I'm glad guys got their Blake got his feta bread from Pizza House. He was a happy camper. Yeah, guys, it was really got to stomp up and down Main Street, which was fun. A little different experience for us than it was in college. So yeah, overall, we got to do it again. We got to get back. Maybe we can even do like a live podcast episode. We're trying to work on one in Chicago. I don't know if this is a secret for the Big Ten tournament. This network is, but you and me, maybe we should work on one of those one of these days in Ann Arbor.
I think that'd be sweet. I think that we should probably do it earlier in the day before we, really tune things up. But also, let me say one more thing about Word on Campus.
Yeah.
Being back there, especially at the game and being around the fans, it for me really hit home again that the most fun I've ever had playing basketball was at Michigan with that team, and the love that I felt from the fans just walking down the street, within the arena, just going up to the concessions to get a water or whatever, and just person after person coming up to me and just saying like, hey man, we really appreciated the work that you put in here. We loved watching you play. Just hearing those things. I've played on so many different teams professionally, And it's just not like that in the NBA. I also maybe never had as much of an impact on an NBA team as I did when I was at Michigan. But for me, that's why, it really was as sometimes emotional being there, because I miss that feeling. I miss that sense of love, and just kind of ride or die that we felt from the Michigan fans. So shout out to all the Michigan fans out there. Go Blue. It was truly one of my favorite weekends I've had in a while, being back there and interacting with everyone and interacting with you guys as well.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, it's awesome. That's again, like, it reinforces the fact that we need to get back. It's funny thinking about your college career. It's such an emotional segment of your life, and then it's like over, and you're like, okay, well, my basketball career keeps going. Well, no, that part of your basketball career is very singular, and it dies, and it's a very weird thing to then revisit. Dies is a sort of a strong term there, but it's a very singular moment, and it's very separate from everything else we've ever experienced in basketball, pro or high school before that. It's a really just unique situation. So yeah, reliving it has been fun, but I'm excited to go back, and we'll definitely have to do a live segment. But this basketball team was fun to watch. They got a big win against Michigan State. They closed it out. It was nerve-wracking, to say the least. But let's get into the X's and O's right now. So I do this every pod. What was the final score? 72-62. So there we go. I remembered. I didn't even have to look. I'm not even looking. But
nice.
72-62. But it was a close game all game. I want to shout out us and maybe pat myself in the back directly. But I mentioned that it was going to be a guard battle. Mm-hmm. It was going to come down to the matchups, Doug and Walker and Hogard and Kobe. And I think our guys won both those battles, and it throughout the entire game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And especially two things to stand out. One, the Kobe step back three at the end of the game, that was a tough shot. And I had one of those angles on it where I was right behind the basket on the line of the wing. And so when he shot it, it was one of those ones where I could see it was going in right away, like the trajectory, the arc and everything. And I got out of my seat right away. Probably the biggest shot of the game. And shout out to Kobe, who's been playing some terrific basketball for him. But also Doug. I feel like Doug had one of his best games of the season statistically. And just starting the game, the first 7 points, coming out strong, hitting tough shots. It was one of his first games he's played where he was from start to finish consistent with his effort and his play, which is important for a young guy like him who has struggled with that. So you said it, the guard play was huge, and Kobe and Doug definitely came up big for us.
Yeah, shout out to Chelsea listening from the other room. She texted me to make sure that I knew it was 84-72, not 72-62. I got the 72 right, but 84-72. Yeah, Doug was awesome to start the game. Like, he brings that spark. It's a certain value, right? Like, it goes, I feel like, a little unheralded, but like those spurts can be very important for a game, right? Like basketball is a game of runs, okay? But he might not be consistent, but damn, that 7-0 run to start the game, that's huge.
Yeah.
It is huge. And like, you take the good with the bad. But yeah, he was super consistent all game. I think 4 assists,
18,
4
and 4,
0 turnovers. So, and that was the name of the game, right? Him and Kobe combined. Kobe had 17, 2 assists, couple turnovers, but those two were making a lot of things happen and running the show. And now I think Jet's in his third game now, not shooting out well at all. I think he's now just well below even, I think, 25% from three. And Hunter was like their second worst efficiently offensively. So this is a huge testament to the other guys stepping up and all of them coming through efficiently wise on offense. Maybe not shouldering the burden as much as like a Hunter Dickinson is, but they showed up when they needed to. And that was, that wasn't happening 10 games ago. We said this all the time. And I know this team has been frustrating, but it's fun to say this team wasn't doing this 10 games ago. Like, that's exactly what you want to see. Is it going to result in a tournament appearance? I don't know. But this is the kind of build that you've wanted, and it's, you can't be too picky. It's better late than never, I think.
Right. And along those same lines, Joey's been a guy that we've talked about a lot, where it's been noticeable, his aggressiveness and confidence on the floor. And he made some more big plays against Michigan State. He had one little lefty finish that I was kind of liking, looked like a young Stauskas right there. I was proud of him. But even with him, I noticed throughout the game he had a couple bad misses. Like he had a air ball from the wing, I think in the second half, and he never wavered. Continued to shoot his shots when they were there, continued to get to the basket when people were closing out too hard on him. And then also Terrace, in my opinion, that was one of his most impactful games of the year. In terms of just being all over the place, rebounding. I think he had 10 rebounds, 3 blocks, 2 steals, 8 points.
A huge game.
The one thing I think he can work on this summer, I think sometimes, and because he's so much bigger than everyone, I think once he gets it down low, he has a tendency to be a little bit of a black hole in terms of he's not really trying to kick it out. And a lot of times there's 2 or 3 guys kind of collapsing, whether it's a rebound or a loose ball, whatever it is. But those are the opportunities where you get that kick out 3 on an offensive rebound. And those are the backbreakers that a lot of the teams in the NBA, like Golden State, thrives on those kinds of situations. So for Terrace, I feel like that's one area of his game that he could really focus on in terms of developing. And it's not even really development. It's more just a mental note of sometimes you don't have to go up with it every time underneath the basket. But man, he was fantastic that game. Some of the blocks he had, honestly, I could see. I haven't watched him live, but seeing him in person, he's huge.
Yeah.
TV, he doesn't do it justice on TV. And I'm kind of sitting there looking at him block shots, seeing how athletic he is. And he's a young kid. I'm kind of thinking, man, does he have NBA potential down the road? Because a guy who can catch lobs, roll to the rim hard, block shots, but then also move his feet on the perimeter and, perhaps stay in front of a perimeter defender, that's highly valued in the NBA. And obviously it's, feel like I'm crazy for bringing that up because obviously he has, he's not there yet. I'm just saying that was the first game for me where I saw it live in person. I'm like, wow, that was impressive. The athleticism and size, just seeing it live, I was definitely very, very impressed with him.
Yeah, it's hard to get that feel for that on TV, and you see it in person, it's a little different, especially that up close. This kid was hitting threes and taking people off the dribble in high school. I know it's high school, but he has dribbled. He has a skill set that he's not shown at Michigan, and he's going to have to develop that. It's going to take even more time, and unleashing that next year, depending on what Hunter does, that will take more time. But he has it in him. His free throw, his stroke is not a 25% free throw shooter, right?
No.
He finally shot better. I think before this game he hit it. I think he had hit 9 of his last 10, so that was a good sign. But he's somebody down the road, I think you're going to want to shoot threes or 15-footers. It's that feel, though, for him where I think he's so sped up. I think he's the most sped up guy because he has a feel that he just hasn't unleashed because, it happens to a lot of big men where you get the ball at 10 feet and you're surrounded. And you just don't have quite a feel for timing, when a double is coming, when the help's coming. Can I shoot over both of these guys? All the time where you're driving to the basket and when you're comfortable in a game, which big guy's down there and where he's at on the court. And you don't even have to look at him. You kind of know where he's at in the field. It's a hard thing to explain cerebrally, but all right, that guy's outside the paint. I can get there to the rim. I don't need to think about it too much. He's not quite there yet, even with his big frame and size. And I think it's that's why it's important for him to get all these minutes, make all these mistakes. But man, he's been an animal, dude. Defensively, I thought at the beginning of the year he wasn't going to be able to move his feet at all anywhere, and he's been active. He's got good hands. He's fouling too much because he's taking some chances. But he's got it on both sides of the ball, some potential. And I think you're right. I don't know if it's next year, but 2-3 years down the road, that NBA could be knocking. And that's exactly what you need. It's what everyone is always, heralded Beeline for. And I think Terrace and Kobe And in particular, like those two guys are exactly the types of beeline guys, that Juwan can develop for 4 years.
Yeah. And not to mention, he's a guy that he's a major Camp Sanderson candidate.
Yeah.
He has a great natural athleticism, it seems already. And I feel like if he got a little bit leaner and spend some time with Sanderson, like a full summer with him committing to his body, I feel like that could make a huge impact as well. Because just the size of his legs. I didn't realize his legs were as big as they were, but seeing him up close, it's another guy that reminds me of like DeAndre Jordan. You don't realize until you're up next to DeAndre Jordan, you're like, damn, he's like tree trunks for legs.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. But no, I was really impressed with him. Trying to think who I think Will, he sometimes looked, a little out of space, out of his area of comfort and sped up in the first half. But the second half, he made a lot of important plays and continued to play with confidence. He knocked down that three. He had, a nice baseline drive. I feel like everyone that was playing in the game was making their impact felt. And the crazy thing of all of that is, I feel like they played better after Jet got hurt. And for Jet, he's been terrific this season. And I hope with the ankle, I know he's had a couple issues with it this year. I don't think they've released any status on him moving forward, how long they expect him to be out.
Wow.
But watching that game, I don't know how you felt about this. I felt like the ball was starting to stick too much when he had it, and the offense was getting super stagnant. And I felt like they played their best basketball in the second half after he sprained his ankle. Now, again, he's been their most talented player all year long.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, they're better without him, because that's just not the truth. But in this particular game against Michigan State, I felt like he needs to make some adjustments in terms of getting off. If he doesn't have anything right away when he catches, or if he can play off a closeout, there needs to be some form of, hey, if I don't have something right away, keep it moving and I'll get another opportunity, later in the offense. But when it gets stagnant like that, that's when they struggle a little bit, especially with Hunter sometimes kind of sitting there posting up, calling for the ball and clogging up the lane. It's tough. It's tough. So they need, I think for him, he needs to figure that out. And he's, like you said, he's struggling a little bit with his jumper lately. We've seen him knock down shots all year, but maybe it's a little bit of a freshman wall or just slump. Every shooter goes through it. So hopefully he's healthy and he'll be available, to play moving forward. But I also think he needs to make a slight adjustment in terms of shot selection and, ball movement.
Yeah. And we talked about it last time where when talent executes, that's peak difficulty when guarding guys. And Michigan has that talent. It's not just a bunch of scrubs running the Princeton offense, getting backdoor cuts all the time. This is talent. And when they execute and make lives on themselves easier, I think Jet, there's an interesting dynamic there, right? When you are the most talented guy and you have carried the team on your back for games like Iowa, you've shown that capability. So it's all right, do it again. But that's not always the answer every game. And it's a hard thing to adjust on the fly. So you're all right, well, we're going to keep giving it to Jet. And it's well, he's in a slump. Let's work him through the offense a little more and execute. So much easier said than done. It's so much easier said than done. And when Jet catches the ball, I know in his mind, he's thinking all right, I've done this. I'm going to hold it and see my options. And, he can make it easier on himself to then work the ball. This is why I love Steph. I love Steph all the time because of his mentality and the one-on-one that, the NBA is, the one-on-one game. You see KD catch it and LeBron catch it. And it's all right, we're ISOing and this is our offense. And it's going to be the whole game. And people have literally bashed Steph for he can't be in the top because he comes off screens too much. These are dumbasses saying this, but people have said this stuff. He's not the same type of caliber. I'm because he plays basketball the best way for him. I don't understand it. He makes it easier on himself and his teammates. He has anyways, I could go on about that. But the point is that's a work in progress. And I think that's been Michigan's number one hindrance offensively is not executing properly. Mm-hmm. And the biggest person who's felt that the most, I think, is Hunter. And I think he's not getting enough clean looks. And I don't think I don't think they run enough through him in the last 2 games. The Wisconsin game, they didn't post him up enough in the second half. I don't think they post him up enough regardless in the last week in that Michigan State game. I don't know. I just want to see them be able to dump it down to him, and he makes good decisions, but execute, be quick with it. I still think he's the go-to guy, even with the top to bottom success that this team has seen offensively lately.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard because feeding the post when the other team is specifically trying to not let you feed that one player, or ready to send a double as soon as you feed it. It becomes not an easy post pass, and so a lot of times they do get stagnant, just kind of trying to force feed it. But then at the same time, where I get upset about it is I just feel like they're not able to find them in the pick and roll enough for some just quick paint touches where he might catch 8-10 feet out on a roll, and then you can let him make that decision. They don't find him on enough of those, and he's not a lob threat, so that it's either you got to hit him early, or you're not really going to hit him at all, because that late pass, most of the time it has to be a lob if from the ball handler coming downhill.
Especially in college.
So that's the part where I feel like they've been missing it all year. And Doug and Kobe, they've made great strides on the ball screen offense, but I feel like that's been more them scoring on their own than them making plays for Hunter. So it's tough. The game is so pick and roll heavy that you would think they would have found more options out of it, or at least to get them kind of some easy looks here and there. But that's where they've struggled to find them. And I'll give Hunter credit. I think he, for the most part, has a good attitude about it, even when they do miss him on some rolls and some post-ups. And I feel like he has a good attitude. And when he catches it, it's not he definitely doesn't have the mindset of some people do. Oh, they missed me 2 or 3 times, so when I get it next time, I'm shooting it no matter what. He is very much a willing passer. And even one of the cross-court passes he had to Joey in the second half for a big 3 against Michigan State. It was a bullet, 30, 40-foot pass across court on the money, in Joey's shooting pocket. Yeah. And he had 3 bodies being thrown at him. And I was sitting there damn, that's an impressive pass. We've talked about all year. He's a great passer, but again, just seeing that in person, and seeing the willingness to create for teammates, even when he may not be getting the ball as much as he wants, it speaks volumes about the kind of team guy that I think he is. Now, granted, I don't know Hunter, personally, but that's just what I see from the situation.
No, for sure. I think it's easy for him to have a reputation that he might be a-hole, a little brash, and then that turns into him being maybe an a-hole teammate. I don't see it very often, but I can see people thinking that and being more selfish. He's not. He's almost passes too much at times.
Yeah, I agree.
He doesn't get upset when he doesn't get the ball. And if he does, it's rightfully so. He's not saying anything crazy. He doesn't pout visibly. Now, there's always things you can kind of lose your attitude quietly. I've played with plenty of guys that have just given up, and you don't really, it's kind of more subtle, but it didn't seem like that this year. And, it's been back-to-back years of young teams that he's played with, having young teammates, and it's been not the easiest teams to deal with. And when you're a big guy like that and you're getting double teamed all the time, it's just a tough situation, especially after your hot start your freshman year. So I got to commend him for keep going the way he is and playing unselfishly. I mean, he looks pass first all the time, and he knows that's coming. So it's been fun to watch how he's dealt with it. I think that it's still a work in progress but it's coming every game. I just wish they could execute a little more in sets. I think that with the ball screen stuff, they've been playing drop coverage a lot, and you see Doug, I think, got a few mid-range jumpers, and Kobe's been killing it in the mid-range this year, at least in the second half. So they're all right, we're going to give those up. Maybe teams will stop doing that as much if they're going to keep killing them on that. But they're doing that drop coverage, and it's hard to find Hunter on those rolls. unless it's just a completely naked side with jet, which is I wish they would do a little more of. But I think you still got to be setting a lot more screens for Hunter and stuff in the middle, stuff really posting them up in the middle and just like really executing sets. I don't think they have like a really great guard screener. And that was my favorite thing to do. Nik, when I ever wanted an open shot, I'd say, all right, big man, stay on the perimeter. I'll set you a back screen, and that's going to be a wide open shot for me every time. I think that part is still, a work in progress as compared to like the skill part of the game, like handling the basketball. I think they're starting to figure that out pretty well.
Yeah. No, the screener action, I feel like they don't use that a lot. We've been talking about that. That's a good point. You brought it up, but especially some of the games where Jet has been shooting well, that would be a good action for them to run, is have Jet set the cross screen for Hunter so we can get an open post touch. And again, now that puts pressure on whoever's guarding Jet to, bump and kind of be that buffer guy. And now Jet's coming up off a screen, and now you have your two most efficient players in their sweet spots. You have Jet getting a screen to pop out for three, and you have Hunter kind of coming towards the block for a layup. And so it's a good thing. That's a good point you brought up. I haven't, really thought about that, but they haven't really run any of those actions throughout the year. And those are two perfect candidates to run it. I actually think back to my time at Michigan. My freshman year, we lost the Big Ten regular season title to Indiana at home to finish out the year. A game where JMO famously, tipped in took a layup to win the game, and it, rolled around the rim and came out.
Yep.
But what a lot of people don't remember about that game was the possession before where Indiana scored to go up 1 or 2 or whatever it was. Jordy Hulls came to set a cross screen for Cody Zeller. I was guarding Jordy Hulls, and being a freshman, all I had in my head was I cannot let Jordy Hulls score a 3 here to lose, to lose the Big Ten championship. I can't be the guy that messes up. Yeah. So he sets the cross screen for Cody Zeller, and I stick with Jordy Hulls. Don't bump. Don't give JMO any kind of help. And sure enough, Jordy Hulls set a mean screen on Jordan Morgan. Because that's the offense they ran, and he probably did it a million times throughout his career. Yep. And sure enough, Cody Zeller comes off wide open, layup to win the Big Ten championship. And so most people won't remember that, but we lost that game because of me on that specific action. And it goes to show you how tricky it is. It's honestly not that hard to guard, but people, especially freshmen in game, you panic and you forget. As a defender, I'm supposed to bump, and I'm supposed to, give my big man some help. And, I'm glad you brought that up. Maybe we can call into Juwan and have them start running some of that, because I feel like that would be super effective for them.
Yeah, they've had this interesting set where they started Hunter, let's say the left wing, and they've run kind of a double stagger backstrain action all the way to the opposite block. And it's not bad. It's just kind of long. And I think teams have sussed it out right away.
Yeah.
When you can get like quick bang, bang, like movement disguised as a guard to big screen, that's easier. But again, this is not always on Juwan. You got young guys that are still learning sets. They've run good stuff. It's just easy when, this is what Beeline didn't like playing freshmen, because they had to learn the offense and they had to learn all the sets. And if you didn't learn the sets and you weren't going to execute very well out there and you were going to telegraph everything you were doing, like, it's not easy to throw a bunch of stuff at all these guys. So I thought they've done good with it, with the hands they've been dealt on both sides of it. But yeah, they could definitely work to get Hunter going more down there. But I want to talk about it because you're going to sort of see a lot of it next game. So let's look to future game. Let's talk some Michigan outlook for the tournament. Let's get into the scouting report. So Michigan has Rutgers, and I was watching Rutgers against Wisconsin. That Wisconsin big man, he's 7 foot tall, but they were sending the double every single time. And maybe Wisconsin's not the greatest shooting team ever. They're pretty up and down, but it's going to be more of the same thing. And I think this is going to be a key to them. But I don't want to see Michigan shy away from it. That's my number one thing. It's like you can beat this team. Hunter's such a good player that you can beat a team. You don't have to shy away from their defensive game plan. You just outwork them. If you know exactly what they're going to do, I feel like it's easier, even if it is kind of trapping, right? Like I feel like you get in a game plan. You're like, all right, we know they're going to trap ball screens, so we're not going to run the ball screens very much. It's like, no. Run the ball screens, just use it against him because you already know what's coming. It's easier if you know exactly what it's going to be. So I want him to see more of it. But Rutgers' big guy's pretty solid, but they're going to keep sending it, and that's going to be my key. I think Hunter's going to have to get the ball and be aggressive on both ends, but they're going to have to send. I think they sent the double from the top, so I think you might see a lot of Will Cheddar to start the game. Hopefully, he dives to the basket or can hit that open three up top, but. To me, that's going to be my number one key from the start there, offensively at least. What are you expecting? What do you want to see from Michigan offensively in this game against Rutgers?
Well, one, if Jet's healthy, I'd love to see him catch his groove back and get back in rhythm because it's been uncharacteristic of him to kind of struggle the way he has been. So I'd love to see a bounce back game for him and also see that he's healthy.
Yeah.
But also, like we talked about Terrace, I feel like Terrace really made his impact felt that last game against Michigan State. Would love to see him kind of, build some confidence off of that and continue to make that same impact.
Yeah.
And again, if Jet's gonna be out, everyone's got to step up a little bit. I think Kobe's really turned a corner. We talked about him, potentially being a pro prospect, which I think more and more people are starting to think. Actually, I want to say this too. I talked to John Sanderson, the strength coach there, and this made me happy. He gave a shout out to Kobe and was saying that he thinks that Kobe's the hardest working guy on the team, really puts in his time in the gym. And I remember at the beginning of the year when Kobe was struggling a little bit, and I called him out on this podcast and I said, man, if I'm him, I'm really spending my time in the gym right now and getting shots up every day so I can correct these things, because we saw it. He was putting himself in great position and just not scoring game after game. And it was frustrating to watch. I'm sure it was frustrating for him. But to hear from the strength coach that, hey, this kid's serious. He's putting in the work every day. He's putting in the time. He's passionate about it. He loves the game. And then to also see the results come with that, you got to be positive moving forward with him, especially if he's going to be coming back to school. So, like I said, I think he's turned a corner here. He's just consecutive game after game, making his impact felt, knocking down big shots. And again, if Jet's going to be out, I think he's going to be the key guy from the perimeter, making plays, knocking down shots, put him in the ball screen, and then, continue to do his thing defensively too, which I feel like he's made great strides in.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. They got Mulcahy at point guard. I think he's like 6'6". He averages like 5 assists a game, 9 points. And then they got Cam Spencer shooting almost 43% from three at over 20 last game. Dude's got a funky little hitch in his shot. He's fun to watch shoot, actually. Very square shooter, but the kid kills it. I mean, he doesn't average too many points, but he can blow up at any point. So, again, that's going to be that guard matchup, I think, and likewise like it was in the Michigan State game. But I think you're going to put Kobe on to Mulcahy and bother him as much as possible in that ball screen from the backside. I don't know if Michigan's going to run drop coverage, but at 6'6" point guard, like Mulcahy's looking for passing and Amori can throw down a lob. It's going to be interesting to see how Michigan defends them ball screen wise, because if I'm Rutgers, all I'm doing is putting Hunter in a ball screen. That's it. If they post him up with Amori, Amori's fine. He's capable of posting up, but that's not where you really want to attack Michigan the most. I mean, unless you think you can get Hunter in foul trouble early, and that spells trouble for Michigan. But it's going to be attacking Michigan with the ball screen stuff. I think Rutgers does a good job of running stuff off ball, and Cam Spencer runs. He comes off ball. He comes off screens. I don't execute quite as frantic as Wisconsin does. It's not quite that fast. But if you put Doug on him, I think he can bother him. Cam doesn't really want to drive to the basket and put up mid-range. I don't think he'd still be bothered with like little Doug there sitting next to him while he's trying to dribble to the basket. I don't think he would like that. So I think you can at least have Doug run around and chase him a little bit. It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, Mulcahy, I am worried about that ball screen stuff. Drop coverage, I don't think is going to be best unless you try it. Mulcahy just can't figure it out. but I think he's a veteran. He's tall. He's pass first, and they got a guy that can throw a lob. I think you got to hedge these ball screens a little bit.
That's beautiful insight right there. That's better than I could have done, Stu, and that's probably why they pay you the big bucks.
Well, we'll see about that. I think we're still negotiating some things. But, we got the Rutgers game is going to be fun. I think, again, it's going to be – Rutgers is not special. If you play solid, they're not going super fast. If you play solid and execute your guard-to-guard switching, your help side defense off of off-ball action, I think you'll be fine. After that – you got the Wisconsin rematch at home on CBS, 2 p.m. That's going to be a big game. Again, I think Wisconsin is not special. If you execute and don't give up a million offensive rebounds again, and just kind of don't give up a million offensive rebounds and not as many layups. Like, we got to be better switching guard to guard stuff where they Wisconsin will kill you as wall at the 4-man, will post anybody up. So you really can't switch too much with the guards. But I think these are 2 very winnable games, and I think they know exactly what the game plan is. There's no more questioning if they can beat these teams. It's just if they're going to execute the game plan, and I think they haven't been more comfortable all year executing a game plan.
Yeah, and I'll going back to the X's and O's, but also moving forward, I will say that against Michigan State, that was the first time that I felt in a close game down the stretch, they made the big plays and they controlled the pace, they controlled the tempo, and they finally won a close game, because all year long it has felt like anytime it's anyone's ball game late, they kind of crumble, and whether it's bad execution, missed shots, turnovers, whatever it is, they always kind of seem to give the game away. And Michigan State was the first time where I really felt they made a jump in that area with the late game execution. And to be honest, it's not even late game execution. Sometimes it's just, you got to make shots when they matter. And sometimes that's all basketball is. And they were able to do that against Michigan State. Whereas against Wisconsin, before Michigan State, I felt like at the end of the game, they struggled. I think they were 2 of 11 to finish that game from the field. They were missing free throws. There was turnovers. There was bad execution. And so moving forward, when you're going up against Wisconsin again, I'm imagining it's probably going to be a close game. I don't see Michigan blowing them out. And so that late game execution, playing with confidence and swagger, is going to be important.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be interesting to see. We could spend more time kind of BSing about Michigan's outlook for the tournament, but it's win. Like, you got to win. The bubble is not strong, and if you can win the rest of these games, or at least get 4 more wins out of the 5, I think it is. 1, 2, 4, and then 1 in the tournament, you're looking pretty good. I mean, KenPom has Michigan at 49. I think in net they're in the 60s. So they're getting better analytically, I think, for the committee, but they still need some marquee wins, and they're going to have to win out. That's it. There's not much to really say about it.
I still think, even if they win out, I still think the Big Ten tournament's their best shot at making the NCAA tournament, just because there's just been too many. I mean, we've talked about, there's just been too many of these. Oh, we were close, but not. Close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, my guy. That's what they say. That
is it. So we'll see. They went out. That's it. Just win games. But I want to keep seeing them get better. We've seen it. So who knows? It's hopeful. Title.
Yeah, we're hopeful. Are we going glass half full? I mean, I don't even know where the glass is now.
I think
we drank the glass. That's what happened. We drank the glass.
Yeah, we drank it. We drank the glass. And I got a shot glass half full ready to go for whenever I need it. It goes both ways there. But the glass has been chucked out of the car on the ride home from Ann Arbor. I didn't even want to look at it. And that's what we're doing. We're just going to support them, and we'll keep going, and we'll see what happens. But must wins. Yeah, you'll come back to us next week, and we could be just really down in the dumps. But I'm feeling good about this team still.
Yeah. I'm positive. I'm enjoying our time talking Michigan hoops. They're always giving us that little bit of hope. They sprinkle it in there. Just when you start losing hope, they sprinkle it in to keep us coming back for more. So That's all we can ask for.
It's like golf, man. All you need is that one good shot to bring you back the next time.
And that's all I do. I hit one good shot per round.
And then you're like, yeah, I'm pretty good. I can keep doing this. I'll get better. All right. We'll be back next week. Rutgers, Wisconsin coming up. We'll be back. Talk more Michigan basketball. Hopefully we get some wins. But we appreciate you guys. As always, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Beyond the Big Ten. That is Beyond the Big Ten. 10 is 10. Check us out. Please rate us and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. Make the comments on YouTube. Send us your questions on Twitter or on Instagram. Either way, we're really trying to build something here, and it's been a good experience. We really appreciate all you guys listening. Until next week, see you later.
Beyond the Big Ten is a network of podcasts that aims to be your go-to resource for all things Big Ten. We cover the entire conference with shows hosted by ex-players and athletic alumni, aiming to be your go-to source of information and entertainment for your favorite team. Hosted by ex-Big Ten players, media, and insiders, our podcasts are focused on giving diehard fans and those alums an inside scoop about the teams and people that make the Big Ten Conference one of the most watched and most talked about conferences in sports. We're excited to talk Big Ten basketball with you wherever you may be. Subscribe now.